Well, this gentleman's Ernest Bannister from Manchester. I met Ernest a couple of years ago now, and he came to Rudyard and said it hadn't changed very much, and I asked him what it was all about, and he said, well, some 80 years ago we came to Rudyard as an evacuee, and we brought him back today to the narrow gauge railway, which was replaced the original train line, but this will actually be the platform that you got off with your mum.
Whichever.
And across there would have been
didn't go for my mum, it was just a school.
A school?
One of the families came with us. She came at the weekend, the mother.
Yeah, but okay, so you came down with a school group.
The school group, yeah.
Right, and you all got off the platform here.
Yep.
And I dare say you all had little labels around your necks, did you, something?
Yep, and we had a gas mask.
Right.
In a little square box.
Yes.
And we had a tin of milk and a bit of chocolate, I think.
Just to keep you going?
Just to keep you going, yeah.
Right. But when you got off, the train would have drawn into the station here.
Yeah, on the left-hand side, yeah.
Yes, and then across the other side, when the train had gone, you'd see the big station building across there, which we've got photographs, of course.
Yeah. Well, we probably didn't see it.
Well, there would be a lot going on for you that day, wouldn't there?
Yeah, well, what we'd probably be doing was pulling the slides on where the chocolates used to come out.
Hang on a minute, you've only just arrived.
I know.
We're trying
That's
to
what I'm saying. There was all what they did, you see, this coach, I was telling this young man, they took most of the people up to the top of the lake.
Right.
In a coach.
So what were you doing, introduced to the people that were going to put you up as such?
Well, they took what was left, stood on the station.
Oh, you were just the riff-raff left, were you?
Yeah, we was the ones that didn't go. They took these people, the majority,
yes,
in a coach,
right,
to the top of the...
So it was quite well organised then?
Yes. Evidently, yeah, they must be waiting. And then these people came and took us, who wanted us. And there was a couple more, 2 or 3, I don't know who they were, but they took them and then took them.
Well, they must have been desperate to want you.
Yeah, there was 4 of us, you see.
Right.
His brother, sister, myself, and a girl called Joyce Conroy.
Right.
And listen to this, Joyce Conroy was here for all the rest of the year, the rest of the war.
Right.
She came back at the end of the war, back to Ancoats.
Well, we'll come back to that in a minute, but your first impressions of Rudyard with the greenery as you got off the train, what do you think of that?
We thought, we'd come off the station. Well, we walked straight down the road then from there when Mrs. Graham came to take us.
Mrs. Graham, right.
Yeah, she took the 3 of us.
Yes.
And she run one of these things for weekends where they fed the visitors.
Oh, like a bed and breakfast sort of thing, yes?
Yeah, and Joyce was ideal because I was 8, my brother was 10, and Joyce was 12.
Right.
So she was ideal because she could do a bit of cooking and sandwiches,
a bit of waiting on or whatever. Yes.
And we could boot it out there. We weren't allowed to stay in the house.
Right.
So that was it.
Did she have some children up there as well then, of her own? The lady in the bed and breakfast?
Oh, she had 2 sons.
Right.
And one must have been round, I should imagine, round the 1820 mark. And the other one, now I don't know if you want to say this about, I don't know much about him, but he'd been in a hospital for some reason.
Right, he wasn't very well for some reason.
He was a teenager. And he was a villain, he was a big vicious, because for every time he spoke to me and Jim, or Jim and myself, was to threaten us of what he was going to do to us.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and this
as an 8-year-old, it'd be a bit frightening then, wouldn't it, I suppose?
Well, the point was, we didn't hear him, to be quite honest. But
no.
He'd just come out of this mental home, it appears.
Right.
So the point was, he was in charge of us. Now, this Alan was in charge of the cooking and all that with my sister and this other young girl.
Yeah.
And my sister thought he was a lovely man. Lovely.
Right.
And Anyway, the first morning, next morning, we went to bed. First morning, next morning, Mrs. Graham said, "Now, what do you want to eat?" So you could have egg and bacon and everything. So I said, I usually have porridge.
Yes.
We don't have any porridge in this house.
That was a good start then.
Yep.
Didn't you bring any with you?
Says, if you want porridge, there's a shop down the road.
Right.
It's a wooden hut on the left-hand side, a green wooden hut on the left-hand side. You can go and get a pack of porridge, which I did, and that's what I had, porridge.
Did she give you the money for it?
Give me the money, yeah.
Very good.
And I had porridge after that, and they had a coop breakfast. Oh, they was over the moon, Jim and Joyce. Oh, were they over the moon? Anything you want to eat. Well, we didn't have much to eat in Ancoats.
No.
It wasn't that sort of place. You're lucky if you got any breakfast at all.
Well, right, on the other side of the lines, yes.
Yeah. And you could put sixpence in or something, and you got a bar of chocolate.
Right.
So what me and Jim went along pulling them out, but we didn't have the sixpence.
Ah, right. We just wanted something for nothing, did you?
No, so the station master wasn't keen on them. So every time we went on the station after that, he was a chaser.
He'd chase after you, would he?
Every time.
Because I believe the station master lived upstairs, didn't he, above the station?
Yeah, we
with
didn't.
his family.
The only time we saw the station master was when he was chasing us. And he was one of the places where we got booted.
Right.
And so then we went down to, well, that's it.
We'll go to the lake later, but any other memories of the station as such?
No, that was it.
We just went off on the bus.
Excursions with the station master chasing us. That's all like while I was here.
Out of this chocolate
It was one
machine.
of the boats who collapsed. Who works with the police.
Yeah, well, we'll come to that bit as well. A little bit later.
That comes at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we take it that the Germans was in that hotel.
That's what they told you.
Yeah, that's what she told.
We'll do that in a minute,
Mrs.
but
Graham
just
told us this.
It must have been one of these houses. You said.
No, we couldn't even see the
No, because you were.
It wasn't that big. The hoarding was about 20 foot wide.
Yeah, she didn't live here though. Nobody lived in those.
Well, they moved the hotel then.
So where was the house? Which house was it then? Which house?
It's where the hoardings was.
Where were the hoardings?
The hoardings was at the side of the road.
Yeah, well, here's the
Come
road.
here, come on, right, come on then, I'll show you.
So if you could imagine there's the hoardings along here, perhaps, and then you couldn't see the hotel, could you?
No, you couldn't
These
see the
have all
hotel.
been built very recently, so it's got to be here somewhere, one of these.
Well, they've moved the hotel then.
Yeah, but these are new houses, so it's either one of
They've
these
only been built in the
or
60s.
down there. These are 60s houses. So it'd have to be these or...
Well, that's Rudyard Lake Hotel,
It is.
and she says the Germans was in the hotel and they was there for till the end of the war.
Yes. And it was
And
all
she'd been-
boarded.
been
It
in-
was all
they'd been
boarded.
interned, and she says you don't go near that place because there's soldiers with rifles, and that's what she told us.
Right. Well, fair
So
enough.
we did, but the point is,
Perhaps she didn't
she
want you
said it was
stealing
in the
some beer.
hotel. Well, those I can't remember. A wall like this. It's immaterial. Well, the hoarding was about 12 foot high,
Right. So it was very protected then, wasn't it?
about 20 foot long, we'll say.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. We never
Well,
come.
these
We never
buildings
come
have
near
been
it.
here since, the 1800s. So it's probably one of these houses, that's what I'm thinking, as you stayed in.
No,
No? Right.
no.
Let's start again then. What we're saying is you mentioned hoardings so people couldn't see the hotel. Well, because of the buildings on the left, if there were hoardings around here, then you wouldn't see the hotel, would you? I mean, you're only 8. It's asking a lot to cast your mind back that far, isn't it, really?
All I could see was hoardings about
Yes.
20 foot wide and
Yeah.
about 12 foot high.
Yes, yes.
So she
here
said
we
the
are in
hotel is behind that hoarding.
Yes, yes, behind it. Be a hoarding here, and the hotel's behind it. So, I've got a feeling, and it's only guesswork, that where you stayed would be probably one of these houses here. No?
Nope, we walked out of the house and the hoardings was right facing you.
Yeah, there would be.
Would be here.
There would be.
They're only
on the
20
road.
foot wide.
But Dad, there's a building down there. You wouldn't build a hoarding on top of the building. That building's been there. That building's not been built since the war. You'd have had the hoarding on where this wall is.
I never saw that hotel
At all.
until the end to
No,
we
you
came
wouldn't,
here.
because it was hoarded off from round here. And if you stayed in one of those houses,
All right, yeah,
Up
well,
there.
I'll stick with my story and you stick with yours.
no, I don't want to make anything up. It's the
I'm
last
not
thing I
saying
want to do.
anything, no.
But
No.
I'm saying that those other houses down there are relatively new, from the 1960s. So if you stayed in Rudyard Village, you've either stayed in one of these opposite the hotel, or else you've been further along the road. No? If you'd been down there, you wouldn't have seen the hoardings anyway, would you?
I know, I walked round that first morning
Yeah.
from that house down there to the little green hut down there
Yes, yes.
where they sold porridge. And that's where I bought the packet of
Yeah,
porridge.
right. So,
So, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off, you know, you just don't dream this sort of
no,
thing.
of course you don't. No, we
It's,
say 80
it's-
years ago. It's a long time ago, isn't it?
No, it don't make any difference. I mean, say I can remember my father going in the war.
Well, one thing that might, sorry to interrupt, but another thing that might bring it back to you. I mean, these houses here are 3 or 4 stories high. They're certainly 3 stories high.
Yeah.
Did you know if there was a room in the attic, for example?
There was a what?
A room in the attic, which is what these have got, because they were used for bed and breakfast.
You went through the door. I know the toilet was up in that field at the back. The toilets, right, was in the field at the back, and I don't know what they were like because we never got to get in them because George, in all his wit, locked the bedroom door.
They wouldn't let you
They
out.
wouldn't let us out,
Oh,
and that's why we got the boot in the end because I used to water the plants under the bed. He evidently put plants under the bed.
Why?
In little boxes. So the first night I found them, we had to go without. The first night I found them, I watered them. Right, hold on. And the next night, Jim was bursting. So I said, these, and he watered them. But the mulatto came in and went berserk. And that's when we was on the move out.
Right.
Yeah. Because, you know, I think probably linked the boxes. I don't know. But this, I'm just telling you what happened. I'm just telling you what happened.
But
It was vicious. I'll tell you what, he never said anything without threatening us.
no.
I'll do this, he'd do that, he'd do the other.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
He didn't make you very welcome then, did he?
No. He
But
just
Mrs.
told
Graham,
us.
Mrs. Graham was all right with you.
Oh, Mrs. Graham was lovely.
Yeah.
Mrs. Graham was lovely.
Right.
And Alan, I never even spoke to Alan.
No,
but
no.
Joyce, my sister, who was 4 years older than me,
Yes.
thought he was marvellous.
Right.
Oh, and he was a smart lad as well.
Yeah.
Always well dressed.
Right.
But Mulatto, oh no.
No.
Think about Sonny Liston. Well, that's what he was. But he was bleeding frightening.
Right. Oh
It
dear,
was-
dear.
it
Oh, I'm
was
sorry to hear
frightening.
that.
And like I say, I locked the door, and what happened of the morning, he was only here a week, by the way. Well, the morning, we had our breakfast, and you had a choice of the breakfast, like I said, whatever you wanted, you could eat. A lovely lady for eating. You went out the door, and you never had to come back until tea time.
Right.
So we didn't have to go back till tea time, remember that?
Yeah.
Because then you had to find something to do. All that, two
Well,
lads
that must
from
have been
Ancoats,
difficult for you.
2 lads from Ancoats coming here. It was another world. There was another one. And Jim would go anywhere, he'd climb up there. Right. So first off, we're back to the railway station, trying the slot machines with us.
Yes.
See if anybody put a tanner in and got the chocolate out, so, you know.
Yes, yes.
And that encouraged the station master to come running down the station.
After you, yes, yes.
Because they had these big trains coming up and down, ordinary trains. So he chased us, so he didn't like us in particular.
But Mrs. Graham told you not to go anywhere near the hotel, didn't she?
We didn't even know the hotel was there. We didn't have to go near the hoarding.
Right.
A hoarding, a big wide hoarding in front of the house.
Yes.
And she said behind that is a hotel.
Right.
With 12 important Germans who've been interned for the rest of the war.
Right.
And they're guarded by soldiers with rifles.
Right.
And that's what she told us.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to bother with German soldiers with rifles.
No, we didn't know whether that. We still don't know whether that was actual. Just
well,
trying
that's
to
what
keep
I say. But he said, well, it didn't happen. All right.
No. It's a bit like.
I know.
She's just trying to. She's just trying to keep you away from the hotel because she didn't want you causing any trouble in there. You know.
Well, the point was, this hoarding was about 24.
You couldn't have got in anyway.
And then it was mine. Well, you know, I was about this big.
Yeah.
And it was long, well, not that long though. For me, these houses are there.
No.
It was just a hoarding in front.
Right. Yeah.
And we never went round the side of it. We never went round the back of it.
Didn't you say Mrs. Graham told you not to go near the railway as well?
Same day. Do you want to go to the railway?
When you were at the railway, yes.
Yes. We went to the railway. And if you go to the railway now, it's still there. There's a board where the tracks are.
Yes.
A lady had these boots what lace up round the front. Hook and eye, I think they call it. Hook and eye up the front.
Yes.
And she got caught in this wooden passenger thing where people walk across the track.
Right.
And a train come and took her off at the ankles. Now this is what Mrs. Graham told us. So you didn't have to go on that railway track.
No.
She made a point, you don't go near the railway track.
Right. And that frightened you, I guess, as an 8-year-old.
No, it didn't frighten us.
It didn't frighten you. Well, you're from Ancoats, so it'd be hard, you would.
Yeah. See if you could find the body, I suppose.
Right.
But no, it didn't bother us at all. No.
Well, you've remembered it.
Oh, remember, that's what I'm saying. Did she impress her on that first day?
Yes.
That first morning, she took us from that station to that house.
Right.
And she took us round where we was going to go.
Said
the lake. Don't go in the lake.
Right.
The railway track. There's the trains coming from wherever they come from. You just steamed through, didn't they? Just ordinary trains banging through.
Yeah, it wouldn't stop always.
Oh no, just trains, just an ordinary railway. So she said, don't go near the railway because the lady's got no legs.
Right.
So
we'll go down to the lake now. When you used to come down to the lake with your brother,
yeah,
you said you started having a bit of a game in the morning with rowing boats, didn't you?
Yeah, but they weren't these. They were those that you just have to swing it.
Well, probably more like that one out there, that old one. Look, can you see that blue?
No, like they used to have in parks.
Yes, just like that one.
Little rowing boats.
Do you want me to go and fetch it in for you? Then you can tell it.
I can see it.
Yeah, okay.
So what had happened? What the bloke did?
Yes. What happened?
He had spikes driven it. I'll tell you where his cabin was over there.
Right.
Now there was nothing there in those days. There was just a cabin, and he had a cabin there. And we used to come on these rowing boats, which was more or less down about there. What he'd done, this bloke, he'd put spikes in the ground.
Yes.
Knocked them in with a sledgehammer, I suppose, and hooked the boats onto them.
The hooks like this then?
Well, probably something like that.
Yes,
I don't know. Yeah.
Like a carabiner.
And it was hooked into, see. You couldn't get about. So Jim used to like push the boat. I used to get in the boat and used to push it out. Well, it was only little tiny boats, but probably up to that seat, probably the length of the boat.
Yeah.
And just little wooden boats, really, rowing boats, like they used to take on in the parks and all that.
Yes, yes.
You used to go rowing when you did.
Right.
And he'd push me out, and then he'd pull me back in. Pushed it out, pull me back in. Bloke starts running, both jump and away, right? But this day, bit of devilment which Jim used to have.
All right, it was Jim that unhooked. Right.
Took the hook off and threw it in the boat.
I always thought the chain had broken.
And the boat just went drifting out into the lake.
Yes, yes.
I jumped in the lake to get back to land. Jim jumped in the lake as well to pull me back and get me back onto land. This was land, by the way. We was over there.
Yes,
over there, by
yes,
the way.
yes.
We weren't here.
No.
We didn't have a stage like this, but it was over there.
Right.
So while he's running from there to there, we're legging it up there because there was nothing there then. There wasn't any buildings or anything that. No buildings, just grass and trees.
Yes.
So he's legging it over here and we're legging it up there. There's no way he was going to catch us.
No. But you'd be soaking wet, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, that's it. Stayed out all day. Oh, I didn't go. Oh, no. But he was one of the blokes who was complaining about us messing about with the boat.
Right.
So we've got him,
the railway,
all drinking in the bar. Copper comes in and they're all drinking together because there's a local copper in it.
Right.
All drinking in the bar. I'll come round and talk to them.
Right.
You see?
Yes.
So he come that night and starts, not that night, but he came that time.
Yes.
Threatens us. Boston and all this. And the whip, the lashes, what's it called?
Oh, like a cane?
Yeah.
A caning.
Caning. So anyway, they sent for my mother. And they sent for my mother, but my father was going in the army and he couldn't come. So my mother came.
Yeah.
And he came and he said what they were going to do to us. And so Mrs. Graham says, I was all right, Joyce was all right, but my brother wasn't all right, Jim. Now, I'll go back a few years before, and this is what Jim was like. When he was about 5 years old, we lived in Salford, and cars in those days had running boards on. And Jim used to take things out of the house and put them on the running boards of the cars. So that was the last you saw of whatever he took out, you see. No matter what it was, he put it on the running board. And off they went. Now that's why. And then another thing, a little thing he used to do, he used to go out the house, and at about 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, police came, 2 coppers used to come. We found him in Piccadilly. Now he's only about 5-6 years old, by the way.
Yes.
We found him in Piccadilly. He knew the address and all that. We lived in Salford and we lived in Choir Street. Choir Street we lived.
Right.
He's not there now, they pulled everything down, by the way. Choir Street. And it was just off the main road. Runs through Salford. And they used to bring him back to there, which was frequently, am I right?
Yeah, your mum must have missed him.
Things was different appearing out the house and he was winding up wherever he went.
Yes.
And that's the sort of lad he was. And that's the sort of lad he was here.
Right. So
out for everything.
It wasn't any of it was not your fault, it was always your brother's fault.
Well, okay, we'll get back to when we got back to Manchester, after we'd been exposed, after we got sent away.
Yeah.
His idea was, my mother was working flat out, she was on her own, my father was in the army in the war. We'd get on the tram, there was trams in those days, get right to the front upstairs because we didn't have any money. And the girls in those, the bloke on the track was your girls, were young girls,
Right.
only like just starting work.
Yes.
Clippies they call
Yes,
them,
yes.
clippies.
Ticket collectors, yes.
Yeah. So he worked out that by the time they got to the front of the tram,
Yeah.
we'd got as far as we wanted to go. So when he threw you off, the idea was, well, we'll get the next one. Now I'll tell you what, we lived in Ancoats. I don't know if you know where Ancoats
Yes, I do,
is.
very well. Yeah.
We could get to Manchester Airport
Yes.
and have the RAF chasing us. Yeah. You had the RAF police with rifles
Yes.
walking around Manchester Airport, which was called, can't remember what it's called now.
Ringway.
Ringway, yeah. The Ringway. And they used to patrol all the way around, and we could go from Butler Street or Oldham Road, anywhere we wanted,
Right.
and it didn't cost us 8.
No, no.
And another place we used to go to was Northington.
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, Northington used to have rowing boats, and they've got the Mersey there, the Mersey goes
Right.
through there, and on the Mersey they have they did like a slip what goes over, but they had a big rope right across it
Right.
to level.
Couldn't go any further.
But you
yeah.
could go on rowing boats, so we used to
Right.
do that, go on the rowing boats, but not let's roll back again
No.
without paying. So we used to do things like that.
Yeah,
But Jim, it was all
Yes.
Jim's eye. See, so I used to blame Jim because he was brilliant.
Well, that's nice. That's
He
nice.
was an explorer, he was.
Yes, yes.
And he'd do anything.
He's certainly a lad of spirit by the sound of it.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Anyway, well, I want to thank you ever so much for coming down, Ernest, and
Yeah.
sharing a few memories with us. Very, very
Yeah.
good of you. And hopefully you'll keep on coming back to Rudyard for
Yeah,
many a year
yeah,
yet, eh?
yeah.
Always
Yeah,
be welcome.
smashing.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ernest. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah, and every word is true, cross be art.